even down to this day or up to this day, very current, modern time, moment. It comes down to the blood, even still to this day. Right. Families and genealogies, classes and groups of people. Right? The established hierarchy, authoritative shit. But aside from that, even the people in control ain't in control. And that's what it is that I can see, and that's being shown to us. For the most part, you kind of gotta work your angles. You kind of gotta, utilize advantages, basically. One thing that for sure no one is in control of, unless there are some people in control of this, is when you're born and where you're born. That's something that the cosmos control. Okay? The very Orishas in themselves control. Yes, Ajala, who makes your head, controls this. Olodumare is the one who controls where you're born and when. And even you, your very Ori, which is incarnated man, which is caravanned into the shell of your physical body and present before you're born as well as afterwards and during, it's still conscious. It's still its own being in order to accept what Olodumare decides for your lifetime or for your lifetimes, your life experiences here on earth. Right? Now, your Ori is made from what? Same thing Obatala is made from. Same thing Olodumare is made from. Orun Salab is made from. Ajala himself is made from. Right? It's all Ori to begin with. The origin. Yes, they say souls are incarnated or reincarnated. What first souls were incarnated and what has been happening with these souls? It's the story, cuz. It's the story, cuz. It either exists or it doesn't, and if it does, that has stipulations and implications, and if it doesn't, it also has stipulations and implications. What implications are there if it does not exist, or rather, it's that every soul is unique in itself. That means that either destiny exists or it doesn't. Also, right, that's the two sides of it, reincarnation and destiny. Because see, that's the explanation that you will receive for the entire reason or the meaning or the purpose of reincarnation is so as to collect as well as be realized a person's destiny throughout whatever lifetimes, which is either achieved, accomplished, and successfully realized or not, until that cycle of reincarnation is now upgraded and extended towards advanced ascension, basically. This is the situation in whatever culture, indigenous culture that is. Because the new explanation would tell you get one life and it's eternal. And that eternal Ori or spirit consciousness is basically conditioned through the life that you are incarnated in on this earth, right? Through the choices that you make here in this particular simulation. And from those activities, you have one basic chance to make enough right or wrong choices. Now with the enough wrong ones, then eternally you will be damned. And then with enough right choices, eternally you will be liberated. Okay? And not everybody believe that you have a pass out of damnation. Some say you can be damned and then have another chance to choose the same and have another chance to choose the same Yeah, that's basically the way it goes, though. It's like these are the things that really are not even considered, acknowledged as much because, of course, it can send you in circles. There's no really one stone definite acceptance appreciation of the facts of these elements of life. What is life without being clear on exactly how it works? Enough to where, okay, you could say that can influence, at least subconsciously, the decisions that you're making, because it already is, basically. Because first of all, you're already aware of this. Your spirit knows this, but have you connected with that all-knowing, with that knowingness within your spirit? What would that take? Is going to take you staying true to yourself. It's going to take you going through all of the different routes that you've taken and completing those routes. They're either going to lead to a dead end, or they're going to lead to an area that's no longer routed. Right now, you can explore that area. It's going to have however many sort of limits or conditions in that area. Right? If you was on that path at whatever point and you never finished the path, right? Because there's always detours in life. Sometimes detours become main directions, and you never make it back to what even led you to that. And so it's harder to understand the full dynamics of what all is involved with what it is where you end up finding yourself in life. And that's where a lot of people, being that we are sharing this confusion, will even subconsciously confirm that for your ass. Past this life experience. Why? Because of course your spirit is eternal. Right? And they spirit even realize that, even if it's subconscious, they've, outwardly or knowingly accepted it or not, or acting on the fact that they've knowingly or not knowingly accepted it to the fullest capacity. Why? Because that all take time, right? And with this whole creation of material time, that's put more of a constraint. It's put more of a complex on the confusion cycle, right? Because like I just said, or like I got on here to say, next to also about how the control system, those in control ain't even necessarily in control, they're just in position. Those in control ain't even necessarily in control. Control in itself is a mechanism of confusion. Okay? Now, there is no evil, right? What is evil? What the fuck is evil? Evil is confusion. There's no evil outside of confusion / ignorance, not to know, or not to realize that you know, or not to even apply what you're learning is what not to know is, because there's not anything that you do not know. Knowledge in itself is only the acknowledgement of said conditions surrounding whatever consideration, basically. It's like, what is the application of whatever said information or facts for the moment or otherwise, like the facts of life. Like what we were just discussing about destiny and reincarnation apply to have a very broad application. Something like the color of a car, which is knowledge to a certain extent, is temporary, because that's something that can change. That is conditional. You understand? Right? Even the very classification of the color that it is can change while it's still painted that color, let alone that it can be painted any color at any given moment. Yeah, that was red yesterday, but shit, legally and nationally, we changed the color, or we changed the name of the color red to whatever it is, to hot sauce. The official name for red is now hot sauce, because somebody did something amazing, and we will forever remember them by calling red hot sauce now. Now, when I was a young man, the color red was red. You youngins today calling red hot sauce. Yeah, that's what in that generation, nigga, 20 generations down the line, ain't nobody don't even realize that the color hot sauce used to be called red. Now, the very knowledge of the fact that red was hot sauce, or hot sauce was red, and that is the color, is relative, but it also has its element of irrelevance to it. Now, the fact of destiny and reincarnation, it can be seen as irrelevant, but that doesn't change the very relativeness as well as relevance of it that already exists, whether it is that it is you're going to activate, utilize, and appreciate and respect that relevance or not. Now, what is it that you're attaching that knowledge to that makes it whatever degree of irrelevant or not has its own conditions? And it all comes down to what it is that you are focused on, right? That what it is, how it is that you're applying your energy, that you're retributing the energies in your life. That's the whole point. This life is a trial, is a experience, is a process of realization, of becoming, of advancement in every way. It's called growth. You know what I mean? You start as one thing, but you end up as many things. But all the things are the same in that they're equally contrasting each other. Otherwise, you're seeing it incorrectly. They're equally complementing each other. Yes? Meaning what? The color red becoming hot sauce is still 6 other colors, and that doesn't change. Now, what is he calling the 600 colors? Are they still the same names? Well, that means that it's always going to be recognizable. It's always going to be uncoverable. It's always going to resonate with that energy of what red was, right? Because anything that is anything will always be, even if it's something else at another time. What was always is, and that it was at all is the point, is what I'm saying. Yes. So how many people have said the word red? How many people have thought of the word red? You know what I'm saying? And what did those thoughts and what did those sounds, how powerful was those sounds? How sincere were they? You know, how much life and love and intention and clarity was involved with the instances that energy, whether it's a thought or sound, was connected to and represented. Because it's going to take that much in comparison for this new, for whatever is we starting to determine now. Now, what is the whole reason for the change of the change of the term? If that's not genuine enough, right, natural enough in itself, then it's probably never going to match up, right? Where the fuck the word red come from to begin with? You know what I mean? Is another factor. You dig what I'm saying? You got rojo, yes, whatever else it's called. It's really the idea, though. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to languages and speaking out loud, though, then it's taking a whole nother, that's what it had became, is what I'm saying, right? The thought was the thought. You saw this as that compared to whatever else, right? You got blue, yellow, and red. Any color that's going to be any color is going to be a mixture of those. So even when you consider it in your mind, whether it be green, which will be a mixture of blue and yellow with the least amount of red in it for it to be green, because however much more red in it with those two colors in it is going to be more brownish. But you got army green, which has some red in it because it's got that sort of brownish look to it. Right? That's kind of like a olive color. But it's still green, though. Why? Because it has the least amount of red compared to the other two colors out of the three colors that any color will have in it. Or not have in it, basically. Right? Because yellow don't have no red or blue in it. Or it has the very least degree. But we still call it yellow. But not all of us call it yellow. Some people call it something else, but they still thinking of it the same way. Unless you go somewhere in Hungary somewhere, and yellow has more symbolic sort of references and involvements. Then when they say yellow, it's going to have a different sort of energy, sort of strength to it. Like Oshun, she represents the sweetness of femininity and honey, right? So when you think of yellow, it's automatically associated with that, especially when it is that you connect it to your history and can see Oshun in yellow dancing, right? Provocatively and seductively. Then just like that takes on another sort of iconic representation in your mind for the color, whether you say it or not. Now, when you say it, how is that clashing with the very energy that sound is representing and the tones that they have to be designated within in order to even exist, right? Because yellow has however many tones out of the 7 tones involved with it. So how does that really clash in comparison and in respects to all the lives that have lived from time immemorial to now, meaning the beginning of communication and exchange with people, whether it was verbal or not. Like I said, hundreds of thousands of years of civilization before just this recent 10,000 of years. Right, you go back even 10,000 of years, that's supposed to be the beginning of modern communities or whatever. But there's tens of thousands up to hundreds of thousands of years, people were referencing ideas and energies and being born on this earth as a spirit with a soul, or a soul with a spirit in a body, who perished or not, who ascended like Enoch to wherever or not, and blinked out of this dimensional experience, or perished, decayed, and returned or not returned, or whatever, for whatever reason, is the conversation. No matter where you go, no matter how it is that you color it, it's still the conversation, right? If you accept whatever type of explanation, just understand that that's going to have stipulations as far as the reach and distance of other decisions that you're making in your life, or avoiding making in your life, or not finishing in your life. You know what I'm saying? And that has to do with, and that affects all other energies on Earth. Why? Well, for one reason, we share the same subconscious mind. That's where all imagination comes from, right? That's where all thoughts have to go through for you to even apply it to whatever that you see as effective. See as you know what I'm saying, useful or relevant. Yes, for the most part, until, of course, if you're doing more completer thinking, you know, because then once you get to a point of completer thinking, you're not going to even have particular thoughts, regardless of whatever inspirations. Your thoughts are going to begin even more from a level of relevance. Is it making sense to you? Well, even those in control are not in control, yo. Even those in control are not in control, yo. They just in position. The control is the confusion. Why? Well, because there's no such thing as chaos, right? Even chaos is just disordered, but there's already in order, right? So chaos in itself is what is understood or seen as disorder. But that's all based on your placement and position. Because what is disorder for one thing or one place is structured from another angle or perspective. Right now, the chaos is created in reference between those 2 points of reference. So that's how you have that. As far as people in control not being in control, and crying out for us not, you know, because they're people too at the same time. And that's one thing you can't get around until you make fucking robots, nigga. Until you make robots, right? So that's kind of like crucial to be clear on, because exactly what you're getting involved with. I don't think anybody in their right mind would even be involved with nothing like that. It's ultra limited already. It's already not even going to be so engaging. It has a cap at its engagement, right? You got to program the very experience in itself, so you already know what you're getting out of it. So there's no discovery. There's no, like, you know what I mean? Really sort of growth or real connection. Real connection comes from that unpredictability, right? The unexpected, you know what I mean? You creating in the moment, right? You already know you got a mapped out sort of just like diagram of what's possible, like what's fun and with the possible, the excitement, the invigoration, right? the engagement in itself, the inspiration comes from, you know what I'm saying, the impossible, right? Which you would never would have considered or thought about. You realizing things. What are you going to realize with something that's already designated? So realization is important. Right? Because you can't deny what makes a true effect on you. And what's going to make the most meaningful impact is something that you can't change. Right? But that also is something that you've never experienced, that's new, right? At the same time. Are the new things that you can't change. So that's kind of like the complete opposite of whatever this digital sort of cyber shit. You know what I'm saying? It's customizable automatically. It's automated. You know, so the people in control are not even in control, but even they themselves are still human, but under the influence of their subconscious mind, right? Which us as humans misusing our subconscious mind because of confusion has put these energies in position to where now whatever path you take, whether you finish it or not, you're going to encounter already established resonances, basically. Right? Because that's all part of the power. That's all part of the connection of life, which is energy in itself, right? Original energy, Ori in itself, consciousness. Consciousness is energy. Energy in itself is consciousness. The same thing that you use as your imagination, your subconscious mind is what energy is. Into matter, into material existence in itself, right? And objective things, actual objects. That's energy in itself. Now, how can what you think can also be where you are and who else? The decisions is how. It started with decisions. Right? The earth was the earth. But the first person didn't have no clothes, cuz they was butt-ass naked probably for a while, cuz if they was born, they didn't think to put no clothes on themselves unless whoever gave birth to them put clothes on them, which would make sense. They don't want the child to be cold. They want the child to be warm. Yes. Now when he grew up, he probably was still used to wearing clothes as a child. But what about the first people? They say the first people was ass naked for whatever reason. Now why would they ever say that? Because they realize that when we come out, we naked, cuz. So it would have to take a decision so as to clothe yourself at some point. Whether it was your decision or who made you's decision. Now, they say the first people was ass naked. Whatever creator is either going to put clothes on you or not, or you're going to be born with fucking fur like other creatures that don't need clothes. They got fur for their habitat. If they anywhere where they would get cold, that's where they grow fur. All right, now. Where we supposed to be at where we don't need fur at? Mm-hmm. Even a lizard. A lizard is not nowhere where it would need nothing more than it has already. Because a fish don't need nothing more than scales or whatever and gills. Otherwise it would have it. So, that was a decision at some point. To be clothed, even just to be clothed. You wasn't born, wasn't no houses, wasn't nothing but jungles. You had to go find somewhere suitable for you to be safe. Now, however long you was living, whether you was immortal or not, eventually you're going to figure out more comfortable conditions, right? More favorable circumstances or elements of your activities, right? You're going to discover a lagoon somewhere with plush places for you to rest at as opposed to sleeping on a rock somewhere or in a cave or some shit. I don't know, whatever. Right? You might even, whatever it is, right? You might see a decaying elephant. That'll teach you, oh, look, I should be inside of a smaller dwelling and whatever else. I can be inside of an elephant or some shit. And you just build whoever built the first houses, nigga, they was building castles and temples before they made houses, cuz. Back then, nigga, when they started to build, brother, they was building pyramids, nigga. All around the world. That was sculpting big ass heads and faces. They didn't have no apartments. So those were decisions, cuz. Right? Now, those decisions were either thought out or they weren't thought out. Apparently, they were more thought out. They had a little bit more openness to do further thinking before these apartments and devices, right? So, hey, this is the situation. This is what they chose. But the point is, what I'm saying is, there came to where there were wrong choices being made at some point. Not all choices are right. Not all choices are wrong, though. Now, who start making wrong choices more so than they needed to? Because you make a wrong choice once, what the fuck reason you need to make it again for? That's the whole point of growth. So at the point where you have grown to, that's why you might start making immaculate ass, nigga, sacredly geometric ass structures like Angkor and all these other shits that you find across the world, right? Because you ain't making wrong choices. You made that wrong choice, nigga. Y'all fucked around and made that same wrong choice twice one time, huh? just because I can do whatever the fuck. You know, my thoughts are already relevant relative to reality. So I realize I can make the choice if I want to, but I realize that I would only want to if I shouldn't, if I wanted also to waste fucking time. Waste fucking time. And I'm not interested in wasting time more than I am. I'm not interested in discovering more than I am and evolving, right? And the next new thing to learn. And not the wrong thing to do. But we don't be knowing what the wrong thing is because, of course, we're not even involved with what the rightest thing is to do. We're starting off with the right things that are actually wrong. We're starting off with the right things that are actually wrong, right? But then we don't finish. And finishing would help you clarify, but then we don't finish. We're surrounded by those also in subjection of this control system. But even those in control are not in control. Right? And confusion is the only enemy. Ignorance is the enemy, but confusion is the only evil. Even evil, the very embodiment and representation of evil, right? Of murder, death in itself, the first death of a god. Nigga, not even just a human. This nigga's a fucking deity. Okay? So you think Cub was immortal before he would have got physically murdered by another person? I wouldn't imagine he would not be even when a nigga died. The nigga still live eternally underground, nigga. Non-physically. Right? Then nothing special have to happen for him to go there, cuz. Except for the fact that, oh damn, somebody snatched his physical body from him. For whatever type of weird ass reason, right? Whether thought out or not. Right? Now, whoever this person is represents, right? This is a symbol of confusion, literally. Originally, yes? They try to connect Cub with chaos, but no. Set is not chaos. Right, now, why it's relevant? Because these are the first deities after goddesses. There were only goddesses all around the world until you get to this other main area, okay, where you get these male deities from. And that's like a later, you know what I'm saying, abstraction, just to kind of guide you through the confusion itself, because the whole story is really what ended up happening between those two brothers, which was the two men, right? The difference between whatever men, right? You got these men operating on earth and life. They're going to do one thing or the next thing. Now, whatever the reason is, they gave you the reason. Okay? They told you what his whole motive was behind the shit. It was jealousy, whatever type. It was love, really. Love. They say, you know what I'm saying, his lady got with his brother. And every story they go the same way. It wasn't no other thing that prompted him, except for maybe him being, you know, jealous of the greatness of his brother being king or whatever. I don't really know. I'm not judging nobody. I ain't never been jealous of a man in my life. Ain't a jealous bone in my body, and I happen to be a triple Scorpio. But that's just me. Maybe that's how the decision I made in my life, whatever. I don't have time to be jealous of nobody, yo. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to make nobody jealous either. I'm not worried about if you jealous, because that's unnatural to be jealous. I know that before I know anything. Ain't even no reason to be jealous unless have some type of complex. You're against your own self to begin to even be thinking about anybody else in any type of critical way at all. And that's the whole point of the two same source of beings, right? There was no difference between them except for their decisions and actions. You understand? Now, one represented fucking what the purpose of life is. Nigga, husbandry. Nigga being a father and a husband. Simple as that. Nothing more, nothing special. And living when you're supposed to, as opposed to dying when you're not supposed to. Right? Right? Being a father. Right? Because this nigga was not a father before he was murdered. But since he was murdered, he had to become a father after he died, cuz. Huh? Is it clear to you? This was an immortal being. This was an immortal being who otherwise, living naturally, would have did whatever else other than having to perish physically. Who never had any offspring yet. Now, where is the story about those who weren't murdered? There was no other story. It don't go no other way, my nigga. Why? Well, because niggas are confused. Why does it have to be that it is niggas are confused? Well, the very murderer himself represents confusion. And not just chaos, which is Isfet would be chaos. And Isfet is not necessarily, well, they say Isfet is evil. But that's not the facts either. They twisted it up. They try to say Set, which is actually evil, is chaos. But he's not. He doesn't represent necessarily chaos. He represents confusion and anger and foreigners. And Isfet represents chaos, but is not evil, right? It's just, it can create bad, unfavorable conditions because it's supposed to be balanced with Ma'at. Isfet is the contrast to Ma'at, but there's nothing is perfect. So that's why you must have a balanced exchange between Isfet and Ma'at, not Set and Ma'at. Right? Because Ma'at represents order. Balance represents purpose, represents growth. And balance represents purpose, represents growth. Ma'at represents, and it's a symbol of order. Order. Reality, basically. She's in the place where love will be at. Right? But love and a conditional love. Because there's two loves. There's really one love, because the other love, which is conditional, is not love. You know what I'm saying? It's not complete love, right? There's really one love. It's the same part of love that anything else would be. But all is love to begin with, so it's a good start towards balancing. But unconditional love is in the place of where wisdom would be. Right? So that's why they say wisdom is actually love and the understanding is actually power, until you get to below the original, where you have in the center where this knowledge is actually created. Because you start off with Amen, which is peace. Okay, you start off with peace. You come out of peace and the idea. And faith is also what is. You start with faith, right? Faith is what? Now you the assured expectation of things hoped for. So it's basically what it is that you see. It's what your focus is. Now, if your focus is disordered or a product of disorder, then that's where you find yourself already starting in the same place where one would be at 10, which is already a manifestation, which is already a result, right? Because you're associating a result as your inspiration, but it's not a pure original source for inspiration. I mean, it is, but the way you're looking at it is incorrect. And so it can't operate as actually what it is until it is that you arrange it correctly, which is through following your paths, which is why it's 32 paths connecting these different spheres of relevance and connection. But the first sphere in itself will be peace, beginning with peace. You go from peace to love. You go from love to power, right? And we said power was what? Inner beauty. Yes. But you're supposed to go from power back to peace. But if you don't, then power is not power no more. Power actually disappears all completely and goes to fear, low key. Because fear also represents judgment and strength, but not necessarily power, but strength and power is the closest, which is Gavura, right? But that don't exist. This is all illusionary. It's all imaginary. That's why you got imagination right there in the seventh sphere, in the house of Oshun or Heteru, right? She represents 7 is the number on the tree for Oshun, but Oshun's number is actually 5. But 5 on the tree, 5 is Gavura, low key, ironically, which I said was fear and strength and judgment or discernment, basically. Discernment. So that's what fear starts off as. But if you go further from 4 into anything else, or rather, that would be actually that's 4, but 5 is actually going to be wait. You go from 3 to 4 to 5. Yeah, 5 is fear, but that's after you come from love, though. Because what's cold is from 3, it crosses over to 4 on the other side. It don't drop down, even though there's a path from 3 to 5. Right? Now, what is the reason for that path? What is the reason for that path? That's something that I look forward to clarifying. But it may not, they trying to make it not so possible at this point. That's why they kind of moving kind of quickly, because all this shit is a real thing. Okay, that Hebrew language nigga is doing all of this confusion. Right? Even on the tree, that's where they get the Hebrew languages from, the tree. Now, Set is on this tree. The divinities and deities were created with the tree. Okay? The tree don't exist without these deities, cuz. All right, so listen. Now, where it's set at, you're not going to be able to find cuz like that. Set in itself is knowledge, because knowledge is ignorance. Right? Set is in the center. He's an illusionary sphere between which would be love and power, but becomes, as I was already finishing, wisdom and understanding when knowledge is created, which represents Set in itself. Right? They call that area the tunnels of Set, or the tentacles of Cthulhu. Now, who is Cthulhu? Cthulhu is like Poseidon, but like Poseidon times Uber Poseidon times 1,000. Cthulhu is the sleeping darkness. It could be represented as Olukun, right? Or even Tiamat. Yes, the demiurge in Assyrian theology or doctrine. Tiamat, the goddess Tiamat out of the sea, or the goddess / god / Orisha Olukun. For some time, because it's chained to the bottom of the sea, because he liked to cause disaster and destruction and catastrophe and calamity. Oh, you know what I mean? On the land, because it's more water than it is land, my nigga. It's even 2 and 3 oceans up under the land. Yes. Now, Olukun or Cthulhu is that center knowledge. Okay, that darkness, that evil in itself. Yes. Now, when you go into all of the grimoires of where the name and title Cthulhu, which is connected to this tree, right? Because you got the dark tree too. You got what is called what is this shit called? It's called it's like the shadow tree or whatever. Because within this tree, when it is, especially when you started at 10, which is the result of all of what it originally was intended to be, without, hopefully, eventually, once you're ready, without this center part, which is created outside of the initial triad, which the triad ain't even really nothing except for zero in itself. But the zero is not even connected to the Jewish tree. All they got at the top is a 1. But you come to the Kemetic tree, they automatically got that 0 there, right? Which is actually Amen, because 1 is represented as Asar, but Asar is actually Amen, Atem, and Amun, the 3. That's why on the other tree you got the 3 little areas, the 3 unlimited levels of light above the 1. It's represented as a sphere on the original tree. On this tree you get these deities. These deities will present these concepts and understandings of love, Ma'at, of faith and peace, Asar, of memory and thrones as Aset, of Kundalini, imagination, Oshun, okay? Of divination in itself, which would be the area of wisdom just above the second love, which is Ma'at. And what of Risha is that there? No, wait, who is that there? I'm just slipping my mind at the moment, but above that, where the love was, because once it disappears, anything else exists outside of love, which nothing exists outside of love, and until you get to that point, you're not even able to clarify nothing, right? So, that's actually wisdom / divination / Orunmila, which is Ifa in itself, / the Shakuti, or some people call him Thoth, or Hermes Trismegistus, who created the emerald tablets there. That's the first stop, coming from Asar, which is, as Asar, you are all of thought, or atom, or atum, and Amen, which is peace, as well as Amun, which is life in a man, through generative lifetimes, but you can only live one life at a time, right? Until you do have a son, and you got a son right there next to you, and your son is next to you, and you happen to still be alive, is the real power. But where you see that at? Grandfather, nigga, great-grandfathers, anywhere, And I just said, tell you, get all the great-great-grandfathers together right now. Fuck you talking about? Y'all need to smack you? Is there not a council of eldership, nigga, of all the great-great-grandparents here? Well, that's an issue, cuz. Is there not a council of eldership, nigga, of all the great-great-grandparents here? Well, that's an issue, cuz. That's not making a whole lot of sense to me, especially with all these other different artificial intelligences and all these other things. We got all these niggas meeting up, United Nations, the United Nations need to be working directly with the great-great-grandparents. They need to have a special relationship with the organized great-great-grandparents of the earth, no? Well, I mean, this is for the very reason exactly what it is, why I'm telling you why it would be significant and advantageous. Because those in control are not even in control, right? First of all, they can't control themselves. They don't even have self-discipline, let alone knowledge of self. Right? Which self will be that peace, right? Because that's why it is Asar, man on earth. God on earth as man, basically. What is God, though? Well, God happens to be a German word. God exists before Germans was even born. So, you feel me? This tree exists even before the German race. Okay? So, they're going to give you 3 Orishas at the top. Right? The 3 Orishas making up the main idea of what we consider the creatorship, sovereignty, basically. All right? Olorun, the sky, Olodumare, Olodumare, the light. Osurmare, the rainbow. The sky. Olorun, the light. Olodumare, the rainbow. Osurmare, creation itself. Because Obatala is a sar. Right? And Yemaya would be a set. So Obatala is a sar. Right? And Yemaya would be but a set. The three areas of the zero is made up of the three deities or creators. The three creators. Olorun, spirit of heaven. Olorun, the original inspiration for creation. Olodumare, meaning the spirit of the color's womb, the portal through which creation becomes manifest. Osumure, meaning the spirit of light in the world, creation itself, the rainbow. Olurum, the sky. Olodumare, the light. Osumare, the rainbow. The bottom being the closest to us being Olodumare. And then you have two above that. But in that same area, underneath the zero, you get the first, which is the first physical incarnation. But just below that, on a straight path, there's no difference between 0 or 1 or 1 or 10, except for all the shit between it. Right? Now, between the 1 and the 10, you got this fucking sphere that's imaginary, which all other things outside of 10 or 1 or 0 actually is. Right? Now, between the 1 and the 10, you got this fucking sphere that's imaginary, which all other things outside of 10 or 1 or 0 actually is. Okay? And then you also have the 6 there in the center and the 9, which the 6 is the son and the 9 is the mother. Okay? Why? Because, of course, that's how you get any other life outside of course, that incarnation as you as an individual, father or husband. So some things already are in place. That's other people with their own conscience and decisions to make. That woman and that child, whether it's a boy or a girl, is going to make their own decisions, no matter how much of you they may favor or how much they might even listen to you or respect your direction as a wife. Right? So even when she's doing it, it's only so much she wants to do it, really. And that has a bearing on her karma, right? As well as a spiritual experience and other decisions she's making, babe, that don't have nothing to do with you. You know what I'm saying? And how entitled she's going to be, you know what I'm saying, left to be feeling in those moments when she's able to make her own decisions that she can, quote unquote, be in control of. Same thing go for them children. Right? What is it? A decision she wants to make? Is she coming to you so that she respects you? She respects you, your position, or is she trying to see? Is she coming to you to try to see if you gonna take advantage of the opportunity to influence and control her again this time? So she come ask you. You say no. You know what? I think I would like to see what you would think. Right? And what's going to tell you? What's going to be evident to you is. Or she might be kind of far gone. She might be like and insist that you do what she know you want to do, which is tell her what to do, right? Because she kind of mad that you told her to do some shit that she didn't end up liking for whatever reason. There's only so many reasons for that, though. Okay, so now maybe she don't realize what it is she actually likes because she's that twisted, right? That's why she gonna come back to you. And that's where it is your heart actually is, which that the heart is actually the child too, right? It represents the will in itself is the heart. It represents also the sun as in the light in the sky. Yes, her being the moon, the reflection of that light, right? Because of course on earth, you got man and woman. It's what it is that we come together to do that manifest into relevance to whatever other relative exchange and comparison or whatever else. Simply put, it's not super complicated until you complicate it with this other entity, nigga, got something to say about some shit that ain't got nothing to do with nothing, basically. And just don't want it to go no way that he won't like, basically. And is going to implement his energy of interruption. Right? Because it's already designed, it's already designated, generally speaking. So anything you're doing outside of what it is for you to do is going to have its own derivatives, which is interesting. I didn't think about that. That's also on the central path. That's the whole point of what I was saying to you. Right? Right, because all paths is the same path. Even the left and right, if you turn around, it's mirrored. So the left is the right. Right, that's why you got what? You got what? 2, 3, then you got 5 and 4, and you got 7 and 8. But then on the middle path, which is the pillar of beauty, that's why they say power is inner beauty. Yes, which power would exist there before you go within, or not necessarily before, but besides that. However, to go within is in the center between the two paths on the sides. All right, this knowledge area is not nowhere else. It's not on one side, understanding or wisdom. It's its own. It's an own path, but it's connected to the main little functions and activities of the world, which have to do with what? Awakening, which would be to remember. And that will ascend you into your will so as to align your will with the divine will or not. And if you don't align your will with the divine will coming from that ascension from the results, whether you start at the result or end up at the result, then you descend into 4 lower trees underneath this tree, cuz into the Cthulhu area. Which ain't even actually trees. Every number on every number sphere on these trees is actually a different number. Low key. And that's the only way to even get back to the original tree in order to try to continue ascending. But when you get to your will, we be feeling entitled, because we feel like, you know what I'm saying, we want to take control of things because we've been deprived of true engagement. Unless we haven't. More so than we have. And that's always a plus for you. Because you can recognize where it's best to acknowledge a higher power. Because that's where that love would have derived from, for you to have been exposed to it to begin with. Something beyond just whatever another person would be controlling, more so than they are, of course, contributing to and serving. Or experiencing their own self and remaining true to themselves enough to build in a positive direction. You know, however many tries it take, by the time they involve in you. Right, it's already established. Right, and that's a result in itself, but it's not necessarily so confused to where it's not more so a 1 than it is a 10. Because there's no difference between 0 or 1 or 10. Except for all the shit between it. Right? Because it's already designed, it's already designated, generally speaking. So anything you're doing outside of what it is for you to do, is going to have its own derivatives. Which is interesting. I didn't think about that. That's also on the central path. That's the whole point of what I was saying to you. Right? Because we all one, and we're supposed to be living towards what is called harmony. And that doesn't mean that everybody does the same thing. It means that everybody does their own thing to the fuller and fuller capacity, without these conditional sort of ultimatums and pressures and stuff like that. Right? It's like, what is law? What is, you know what I'm saying? What is all that? Ain't nobody trying to kill nobody. For what? You should never get to a point to where you're that emotional. You know what I'm saying? Emotions had a place between a man and a woman. And you're never going to get to a point to where you want to kill him before you want to heal him. or you would automatically be healing whatever would be turned into you wanting to kill them. Right? And that's why there was two men killing each other, nigga. Yes. Hey, it is what it is. That's where emotions fucking belong, cuz. Between a man and a woman. Oh. Simple as that. Right? Because all the other spheres is all emotions, cuz. They represent the emotions. Right? The higher spiritual mind is enough. It's going to already, you know what I'm saying, be loving enough. It's going to be passionate enough. It's going to be desirable, you know what I'm saying, desiring enough. It's going to be imaginative enough. It's going to be emotional enough, yo. It's every emotion. It's not one or the next emotion. You know what I mean? It's complete. It's integrative, right? It's harmonized. So confusion was created. And that's where we get interruption, basically, from what the path was for life. I suppose I started to speak about a bunch of shit and then what I was just saying right now. But I started off saying what? The only evil is confusion. The only evil is confusion. Okay? The only enemy is ignorance. You not to realize exactly what's proper to be involving your energy in. The only evil is confusion. The only enemy is ignorance. Okay? Ignorance in itself will have you believing that you know something that you don't. But what is there to know anything? You know? Like, it's all about really what it is that you want. You know what I'm saying? Your desire will blind you. You know what I'm saying? Your emotions will blind you. You know what I'm saying? From seeing. Right? That's also what set represents, niggas. Blindness, nigga. Literally. The nigga represents blindness. Not blondness, nigga. As in not even just darkness, nigga. Not only just darkness, because it's dark at night. But you can at least see the darkness, cuz. Cuz can't even see the darkness, cuz. The nigga that confused, my nigga. He couldn't tell the difference between darkness or light, family. Blind. So your emotions will blind you. Have you feeling like you got something figured out? Right? It's about desire, right? Because desire is all set, right? Passion is will, which is Haru or Horus or Shango, which represents masculinity, represents warriorship, represents lightning and force of exacting, yes, fire in itself. There's only so many male deities here, okay? We got the father and husband, which is all the deities unless, you know, they say Set actually has some kids, all right? And that's where you get Anubis from, right? But Anubis is not Anubis, Orisha. And as far as the Orishas, you only got so many male Orishas. I think you got more female Orishas than you got male, to be honest. That might be the same. I'm not sure. It's a lot of them, though. It's a lot that I don't even really know about. It's the main ones, though. But the point was what? How you got passion and desire, and how that will blind you because it's all emotional to a certain extent. Not all, but till you build it up to where it's purposely effective and not destructive and disordered. You know what I'm saying? And confused and tangled all up. Then it's only going to be an emotional sort of realm. Or fucking resonance, or what is it, frequency, or whatever the fuck. Yes, because the lowest emotion is grief, right? You take grief all the way through shame, through guilt, right? Up to anger, up into, you know, appreciation and gratitude, up into fucking happiness. But these are all emotions until you get up to bliss, right? Which bliss is not necessarily an emotion, right? Because it's past enlightenment, it's past awakening and realization. Because it's past enlightenment, it's past awakening and realization. It's past joy, you know, into the realm of consciousness, yes? Which these energies are basically just being cornered, basically, to what answers a particular presentation, basically. That's what it is that I'm getting at. As far as what do you intuit in your life? You know, what is your intention? A lot of us have limited scope because we only see so much as possible. We only see so much even as worth considering outside of what's definitely and obviously possible. Or directly or immediately possible. Or most immediately possible, even if it take years. Ain't nobody even trying to wait years for what take years. You know, it's not like it's not as if you're doing it, realizing and loving the fact that it could take however long it needs to take. And whenever it is that you do approach anything that way, shit, nigga, you get way more done than you could have ever imagined or expected to get done. It's the reality. But most people don't think that way. Because first of all, they realize it's not necessary to think that way in order to get particular results. But just because you have in mind what might work for now, like I said, that's conditional. Things change. But there are unconditional things, starting with that unconditional love. Right? Which is the wisdom, which is to learn from what it is you thought was knowledge by applying that knowledge to whatever results and seeing it through. Right? Now, seeing it through is going to give you insight. It's going to help you to see, to understand your possibilities better. Anytime you finish something, you're going to be able to see, okay, what's possible or not actually possible. Right. And your understanding of that, or your accepting of that, or quote unquote realization or acknowledgement of that, has to be applied. That acknowledgement or realization needs to be applied in every way, and hopefully the most universally harmonious way, so that you're not spending more time, you know what I'm saying, having to prove what you've already proven. But sometimes you got to prove things 3 times in order for it to be proven the way it needs to be proven. In fact, every time you prove anything, you need to prove it 3 times at least. But every time you prove something, there's a point I'm making, it changes it as far as how it applies to whatever else it's compared to. Right? So what are you comparing, first of all, in your initial interest or intention? Well, hopefully you shouldn't be comparing anything. But for the most part, we are competing. Even in the smallest ways, even in impersonal ways, we competing with ourselves, with what we want better for ourselves, or what we want to change about whatever else. When just because it's able to be changed, the change would fit your desires or passions or your preference more comfortably. You change too, and what you like changes when you change. So you've already spent time changing something to your liking. Then your liking changes. Now, how it already changed from what it was before is related to how now it needs to be changed, if you change it at all, or just accept it since you already changed it, even though you don't necessarily even like it no more. Because you like different things, because we change. We grow. We should be changing in growth. The point of what I'm trying to get to you is that faith, which is the idea in itself, is to where you should be returning from power back up, right? Because you got the power to do anything, not have the power, but the power is there so as to move in any direction, even if it is back to love from where it comes from, and then up to faith and into another idea, like we said. When we prove things, when we realize the realization in itself, you can even say self-realization, because all of this has to do with you as an individual, how it connects to other people's individualities and individuations of their selves, which clinically they say involves the subconscious mind and all this extra shit as far as what a self is, and how these very ancestors that gave us this guidance told us to know thyself. That's what they mean. The self in itself is the idea of what the self would be. But it's beyond that, because once it is that, you go through the steps necessary so as to prove that it actually is what it is that you're classifying it as, it can become more. Especially in reference to whoever else would say, if they not saying the same thing you saying for whatever reason. Harmoniously, yes. Which that's that peace. Peace and harmony. You don't have peace without harmony. You don't have harmony without peace. Okay, now, everybody don't have to agree, but at least agree to disagree. You know what I mean? Because that's harmonious in itself. That's balanced, at least. All right, you wanna fight each other, and you wanna basically control another person based on pride. You know what I'm saying? Based on whatever, based on emotions. It would have to be based on emotions, because you can't get nothing real done. You won't get no complete results operating on anything lower than love. Okay? It's love and peace, wisdom, understanding, which would be love and power. Otherwise, because power is interesting, right? You have the power is there. Not that you necessarily have the power, unless it is that you take it and try to claim it. But you can do what you want to do. But like I said, what's effective is effective. And you have conditional things, you have unconditional things. And there's already unconditional elements of life that deserve to be respected in reference to whatever it is whatever position or direction you take in the power. Because you didn't create that power, even though you might have it. So don't confuse yourself, because confusing is evil. Okay? It's the part. And how you going to become unconfused? It's through harmony. It's through finishing what you start. You have to finish what you start. Now, that means that you have to be clear of what you start. Now, if you're not clear on where, and you've already started, or you weren't clear when you started, but you have become more clear now, that don't mean necessarily going back to your memory, which is just above whatever results, because the results is that point where you come back to every time, wherever you circulate from. You know what I'm saying? It's going to have to do with her for sure, though. Most absolutely. There's hers everywhere. There's hers everywhere, whether it's your daughter, whether it's your mom's, whether it's your wife, whether it's your sister, whether it's your auntie, whether it's your niece, whether it's your great-great-grandmother. And those are the paths, my nigga. Low key. Every path lead to her. Right? Before it comes to any result. The only path from the result and to the result is her. No matter how many paths connect to whatever other spheres that have also other paths or whatever else that you can take or not take, or take another way or whatever else, you got to come to that one point, that memory. Yes. Now, traumatic memories, me personally, suffering from dementia, to where traumatic events in my life fuck with my memory. I'm just joking. But I will put things out of my mind subconsciously, so because it's useless. But sometimes those useless elements of experiences have to do with already established, powerful, and unconditional factors of my paths. You dig? And that's why it's going to take that faith and unwavering devotion and trust in purpose, in the purpose of life, in peace in itself. Do you got faith in peace or not, cuz? Because that's the number one question. And not just non-violence. And that's not what I mean when I say peace. Because without peace, there's no peace without harmony, cuz. Peace in itself is love, is power, is love and power, is light, is realization, is growth. Peace is consciousness, cuz. Okay? It's concentration. Peace in itself is what? Peace is everything, cuz. Together is what peace is. No? that's interesting how it's peace, as in like a piece, but a piece is all pieces. All pieces. Yes, peace is all the pieces, man. Okay? It's the part. And that's beautiful. That's the whole part. Peace is two-sided. That's why they have the yin and yang representing peace. Yes, it's two-sided. It's chaos and order at the same time, right? Because you can't have chaos without the components, right? And the components in themselves, out of order, is just basically a structure that is not honored, basically. But the structure is still there, right? And it's its own structure. It's a disordered structure in it being chaotic. Otherwise, what is it? It's nothing. You know what I'm saying? If you can't say what it's not, then it can't be anything either. Right? And you can't say what it is without saying what it's not. And so peace would be not disordered, basically. In harmonious sort of complementary exchange. You want to consider that faith and that peace, right? You got to consider to yourself the purpose beyond just your preference, basically. Yeah. That's the point. You got to consider the purpose beyond just your preference. Because even the people in control ain't in control. Even the people in control ain't in control. Even the people in control ain't in control. And how can they even be in control? But by us enabling them to control us is how the only way that they can be in control, or there can be any control outside of the original and purposed order. And how are we allowing ourselves to be controlled? By feeling like we got whatever the fuck figured out. Right? When you are wrong, you're right for now, but you are also wrong. Even if you're however right you might be, you're also wrong too. And you're more wrong feeling like you're either of them. Right? Because there is someone to say outside of you. There is someone to say outside of you. When it comes to you, as far as what you will say as a response, that's when you let your actions speak. And so that's one thing that's basically will guide you through that. If it's any time you find yourself explaining or justifying, right? Because that's that justification, is that discernment, which is that fear area. Justifying your opinion, basically, justifying your own understanding, justifying your intention and preference, basically. Your right to your will, basically. And anytime you find yourself explaining that, as opposed to it already being clear based on what it is that you're doing, enough until it can become either more clearer or less relevant, then that should tell you in itself that it's being approached incorrectly. You know what I'm saying? That's why people ask you, oh, what is your religion? What side are you on? Like, nigga, today I feel like this, nigga. What is you asking me? What did God say? Oh, shit, they say God said this. You heard that, no? Oh, okay, basically, well, shit, I could be an atheist, but I'm not going to say that about that. Well, so that's why I'm going to ask you about what it is what your faith is, because I want to see if you actually even believe it's a God. Because if it's, you know what I mean? That's the whole part. That's really what you're asking. Do you believe in God or not? Not really. What religion are you? But they don't say, do you believe in God? Because that would kind of insinuate that they probably might not or not. Or they would expect for you not to, or that you shouldn't or should. But that's really what you're asking. But that's not what people ask. That's not what people ask. They ask, what side are you on, basically? I'm on God's side, whatever side that is. Whatever God is. And whatever that means to you, you can show me, but you can tell me, cuz. And it's going to definitely take us working together regardless. Towards what's best for all of us. Okay? Now, if you got a question as far as that's concerned, then by the time you would even think to ask me, it's going to be answered, nigga. Just by however it is that you know me or are associated with me. or whoever else. But that's not the questions you're asking because of that confusion, right? That blindness through the confusion. No, I'm saying if it's a question that you have that you want to present or anything you would have to say, right? An explanation as to how we can work together towards what's best for everybody on earth, then by the time you would even think to say it out loud, the reason to say it would disappear. Right? You would just start doing whatever it is that would be best to do. And then I would see you doing that and I would start doing whatever it is that's best to do. Now, what might happen is, you might walk away from me and we had went somewhere together. You might think of what to do, like go plant a fucking seed somewhere or pick up some litter off the riverbank, nigga. And you walk away from me. And I'm like, hey, where you going? Oh, I'm about to go clean up the river. You don't even ask me if I want to come because you don't want to have it pressure me or whatever the fuck. But if, nigga, I'm about that life, I'm like, yo, for sure, I ain't gonna tell you, I'm gonna just follow you. We gonna go clean that shit up. By the time we probably gonna be two ladies that pop up, nigga, in a canoe. Nigga, we gonna hop in a canoe with them two broads. It's gonna be destiny, cuz. We gonna unlock a new path, a couple new paths if we lucky that day. And even that ain't gonna take no words or explanations or justifications. And it's gonna open thousands of other paths just from that happening. Guaranteed. Trust me. So that's what I'm saying. Like, what do I want? It's like that's the number one question you have to ask yourself, because that has to do with everything that's going on as far as even what's even effective in your life. Truthfully speaking, if it's not nothing that you want, then it won't be going on. But if it is involved with what you haven't even decided completely in your life, then it may be something you're subjective to, because of course that's still that arrangement that you've yet to do. If it's not nothing that you don't want, then it will not be happening in your life. But if you not have arranged your decisions and activities as well as what it is that you've concluded on, then you might be subjected to it, because you still have that to do, which we all have to do. And it has to do with finishing what we start. And that root work, basically, they say it's cycles of 7 years of our life also. Every time we turn 7 is another completion of the cycle. So when you at 13, because the year 7, okay, you get up to 7, you start at year 8, that's year 1. And they say that's the most formative years of your life. The most formative year of your life, or the year where you're most yourself, is age 7. At age 7 is who you are. Now, whatever happens after that is what happens after that. Whatever happens up to that is rehappening through cycles of 7 years throughout your life. Right now, that is that root work. That's that path work that tree is in place for. Okay? Psychologically speaking. Okay, so yeah, that right there though. Now, how do you connect it? Well, see, that's a whole nother conversation. As far as the years to the spheres and the paths to the choices and the traumas, that's why you would need to know why there's a path from 5 to 3 and 3 to 5, right? Because it's the same path from 5 to 3 is a different path coming from 3 to 5, right? It might even be called something different, right? And now, is that the mirror flip of the tree, depending on what direction you're coming from and going to? I don't shit, man. That's not nothing I'm clear on, but there actually is an answer for you, understand? Right? And until I answered that question in myself, ain't no telling how my unawareness of what has already been established as well as certified 3 times over, proven 3 times over through generations of blood, how that affects or doesn't affect whatever simple decisions I'm making in my life or think that I'm making. It's the facts, because time is getting closer and closer. So that means we're not going to catch up with what niggas had more openness to do, because it wasn't so much commotion. It was less chaotic, less confused, even though it was more confused because, of course, they started down the wrong path to begin with and started developing in an incomplete way to where just time has been getting shorter and shorter since time was created. Point is what? Finishing, getting back to what it is that you want. Because you can feel like you want things, but what you want is always going to be based on conditional circumstances surrounding what it is you think is possible, or the best choice to make, or route to take, method to entertain. But your understanding increases, right? Through what should be faithful actions. They say faith without works is dead. So either you're acting in faith or you're acting outside of faith, which that is the very Jewish as well as Hebrew definition of to sin, which sinning would be evil, which would be evil is sinning, right? There's no evil without sins, right? But even evil thoughts, it's just evil thoughts, but until they become sins, they don't have to remain evil thoughts, but a sin is always going to be evil. Even if the person who sins repents and their soul is redeemed, that sin will always be evil. Which is why they tell us to hate the sin and not the sinner. You understand? But evil in itself is to act outside of faith. To act inside of faith, then you are actually taking proper actions towards a purposeful experience and involvement. Anything else is automatically sinning, right? And those sins last forever. That's how you get Cthulhu, who exists whether you believe in him or not. Because those sins are eternal, just like those thoughts are eternal. Yes? But the same thought is also not only infinite, but it is limitless. The same thought is also not only infinite, but it is limitless. Which is why you want to keep it in the thought realm, right? Because actions based on emotions are not going to be centered in faith. There are no emotions. There are no emotions in the center. Even the will itself is in the center. The memory in itself is in the center. Okay? The passion and desire is in the center. The passion and desire is in the center. The fear and all them other things is on the sides. It's on the sides. So what's in the center is that faith. And you want to be centered in faith in whatever actions you're taking. You know, I sin often. I recognize sin. But until I start sinning, nigga, more than I'm not, then I'm not gonna recognize as much as we all deserve to. But the problem is, we may not have even never recognized it correctly. We might be seeing something as righteous or proper that's not, or we might forget our place basically, We might be taking the result as the actual source. When what's going to be the determining factor is going to be that heart, that will, and aligning your will, which is your right to do whatever it is you choose to do. Your power in itself, you don't have no power without your own will, whether even if it is to think of something to say or a way to manipulate your environment, whether it be physically or through words in itself, because it's basically, for the most part, manipulation is going to come from words. Even your action is going to be connected to your words, but it's going to take those words, especially to manipulate whatever else. It's going to come down to words eventually, right? Because true manipulation is to confuse someone else or to influence, concentrate another person's confusion intentionally, so that they are making decisions without you having to force them to in your favor, based on what they think something may be, based on your understanding and expectations of what they will choose in reference to what is available for them to choose, or what you can see based on your experiences available for them to choose. But it's still up to them to do what it is that they would do. Right? Even if they would do something, they have to be true to themselves or not. Now, sometimes not being true to yourself will show you your truer self. You know what I'm saying? You don't do some stuff that you would naturally do, but you realize you probably shouldn't naturally be doing that. And you was only doing that in defense, so as to protect your identity, which that's the ninth sphere in itself. Also, on top of the memory is the identity. Right? So, what it is that you want is all going to be connected to that. Okay? Based on what is that you have done, what has been done to you, it's all going to influence what you want. Right? But one thing to remember is, why should what you want matter? Well, because of course it can. That's the gift God gave you, is experience, it's joy, it's happiness, right? It's peace of mind. And peace of mind takes contentment, it's happiness, right? Security. But they don't take only that. And well, rather security and contentment, true contentment, security, true happiness, it's not nothing that anything is going to give you. That's going to take actions in itself. That's going to take decisions in itself, right? That's going to take realization, right? That's all spiritual. It has to do with what you do, not what you have. It's not actually anything to have, happiness. It's something to be, right? Joyous is something to be, not to have joy. You have to get to that point in your heart. And it shouldn't take anything outside of yourself, but anything that you do relate to is going to be an extension of yourself. And so that's why that inner work is important. About as far as what it is that you want, that's going to have to do with your state of mind, right? So that's the first thing, the first order of business is your state of mind. Because what you want changes this. What you want is to be clear. Right? Who doesn't want to be clear? Anybody who would prefer and is wanting to not be clear, as in confused, as far as like, you know what I'm saying, is someone that already have an issue. It's someone that already is justifying their own selfishness, basically, and prejudices, prejudgments. Yes, it's justifying their own guilt, shame, grief, whatever. Their own emotions, basically, whatever emotion it is. They're seeing how they feel as more important than what is the true significance of their involvement, which is to contribute to the harmony. Okay? Because no matter what, or how much you win, it's going to take incorporating others or not. Sooner or later, right? We can operate in a way to where it doesn't have to involve too many people until it's more harmonious for others to be involved. But what is it that you have in mind, if that's the case? Because by the time it is that it can be what it deserves to be, as a universe as it deserves to be, then once that arrives, if you're not ready, it's only going to make you more miserable. You understand, when it comes to happiness. And that's what we see. We forget, even if it is, okay, you want to be in a better position, put your mask on first. Yeah, your own oxygen mask on first so you can help others. By the time you figure out how to put that oxygen mask on and it's working properly, nigga, you done forgot that that's why you was putting it on. Or that was part of why you was putting it on, and shit, man, you so happy to be breathing because there's so much involved at this point with putting that fucking mask on, nigga, you out of breath. Lightheaded by the time you get it on. So you thinking to yourself, oh, I can finally breathe, as opposed to, oh, I finally got it on. I can finally breathe. Oh, and you're taking as much breaths as you can, trying to get back right. You're not realizing, nigga, the people that need your help, that you was in a better position to help in order to help yourself first for it. Two, rather, also, they still ain't got their mask on, right? And that might irritate you, especially as frustrating as it was to try to get that mask on. You looking at them, they looking at you. You might the first thought might change now to, fuck is wrong with you while your mask ain't on? You know how hard it was to get this mask on? Something wrong with you. What's wrong with you? I should let you fucking suffocate. You don't want me to have no air. That would have took me longer to put your mask on. Right? It's a part, is all I'm saying. Like, I understand. You know? Yeah, and those are sometimes the elements involved. You just can't lose sight. Once you get your mask on, it's not about helping other people so much, but we all people. And you helping yourself, right? So you're doing that not just for you. Automatically, whether you realize it or not, is the part. And that's where that clarity comes in. It's not even a second thought to say, okay, is everybody okay? Something has happened that should not have happened. We needed masks. I'm not necessarily in a position to be the fucking super savior, but is everybody okay? Oh my God. I mean, I've been in disasters before. I've seen to where I can be a help. This is my natural love, natural just compassion as a human, which we have compassion as humans until it's distorted and corrupted. It's going to, before you even realize it, you're going to think to yourself, all right, well, shit, what's going on? I mean, just seeing what's going on, if it's still danger for you, it's going to show you if other people are in danger. Now, if it takes a conscious choice for you to help who you can help, that's something completely different. You automatically going to do what you can, especially just because it is you having to see what's going on. You don't have to see, but that's what you're there. Yeah, that's what we're here to do, is to see. And that's just the beginning of it, though, love. Okay? Because we on an airplane, nigga, headed somewhere good while this disaster's popping. You understand? And we all headed there together, and it's gonna be people there when we land. Right? So, what it is that you want is clarity, I would imagine. Unless it is you want there to be an excuse for you not to do what it takes, basically, for all of us to be able to benefit for whatever reason. And that's something you gotta be real about, right? And consciously decide and not just let be, communicated through your actions. Because even if a person who is analyzing and assessing properly through actions, as opposed to what a nigga might claim, any person that's approaching and assessing and analyzing correctly is going to allow time. It's going to allow time, right? Not so as to take advantage of a weakness in the process, but so as to let whatever does end up being said not be influenced by faithless interruption. So that's that. And when it comes to those controlling us, if we don't decide to intend more completely, then we're always going to be subjected to these subordinate and subjective components that we may not be so aware of all the time. It's no way for us to be, because it's age old, it's ancient energies, right? It's ancient programs in place that if you're not a lawyer, right? If you're not a political scientist, if you're not a physicist yourself, and a political scientist and a lawyer, you're not going to fully understand. And how long is it going to take to get all of that? And by the time you get all of three of those masks on, how exhausted you going to be? How frustrated are you going to be? Maybe now you won't be frustrated, but that's still a lot of people suffocating the whole time. You putting all the masks on. And I'm talking about? And there's people with masks on already that know that you're finna be having to put masks on. Right? Walking around snatching masks from people who ain't putting their masks on fast enough. Okay? This is a situation. So that's why it's going to help. It's going to be a cheat code, not necessarily a cheat code, but it's going to be very neutralizing and balancing and harmonizing. So as to always focus faithfully on what God wants for you. Always seek that. Seek first the kingdom, and all other things shall be added to you, whether you want them or not. Once all things are added, then you can best see what the fuck it is you will keep or not know. This is the wisdom in this. It's not so you can be cool or be right or be first or be safe. It's not even so you can be peaceful. All there is peace, unless, of course, you break the peace into pieces by not seeking first that peace. But peace involves harmony, right? Now, harmony affords us clarity, okay? So, however you hear that, let that marinate for now. All right, let that marinate. What does God want for you? There's only one way to find out, and that is to ask him, ask her. That's to always keep an open mind to that. And remember that there's steps to take so as to be sure and to prove it 3 times to you. Or allow it to be proven 3 times at least for reference. You can't keep up with everything, but through those connections and pathways, which are other people in your life, for the most part, the opposite sex, so you can bypass so much confusion as far as these emotions are concerned. I'm just saying. Okay? It'll help you get back to not necessarily figuring it out to where you know that you know what you know, because you never know, but you can always do. And that in itself is going to make sense or not. It's going to connect best or not. And you can't really ask for too much more than that.